record. So, okay, I'm smoking some nice Oriental tobacco, like an English blend out of this my Peterson pipe here. I had some things I can't hold back for now. I want to get these thoughts out there before they disappear overnight. The first thing I wanted to opine on was the increased volume of fake accounts people are making on Twitter. I have a few guesses on who some of these people are. I no doubt some of these people work for private public relations companies, either contracted to the private industry, to a private industry company, or they are perhaps being contracted out by governments, or even it could be individual, just normal people who feel very strongly about a certain subject. Um, they seem to be out there with some sort. I don't know. Maybe there's an automated program because it seems that if you say, it seems like they're honing in on certain keywords. I don't believe these are all computer programs. So to recap, just so I can get my own thoughts together, I see a lot of Twitter accounts recently, ever since this war started. I think some of the ones I've run into are most likely people, not programs. If they are programs, then the artificial intelligence is getting rather scary. But I don't think so. I think these are people, hackers, computer people. They're getting paid, contracted, subcontracted out. The money for these contracts, they're coming from either private interests or public interests, or NGOs, maybe ultimately coming through from the government through NGOs. This all sorts of things, but people must be getting paid to go on Twitter and shill for certain subjects. I think it shouldn't be too hard to guess what one of those subjects are. So this is an interesting development. I'm seeing it a lot on Twitter. I've encountered two so far. Well, I've encountered one for sure that uses multiple accounts. One, I believe, person, most likely residing in Europe somewhere, using several accounts. And it's creepy. It's a little creepy. But for all I know, it could be just a normal person that has a lot of time on their hands and is good with computers. I call them out. I mean, I just call them out. And one guy who I'm not sure, one person who I'm not sure was was a fake account, or an account with a specific agenda. But one person, for all I know, as a matter of fact, these sort of troll operations could be run out of any country. India, I could see as a place. It just, the possibilities are endless. It's fun to think about. You know, my dad was a spook. He was a spook for the military, for the army. And he was a spook in every sense of the words, but it was before the age of computers. And I don't know much about what the fuck he got involved. I don't know barely anything. These people, I can tell you, one thing they can do is, if they're good spooks, one thing they can do is keep a fucking secret. That's all I can really say about that. But these are computer people on Twitter, multiple accounts, able to, it seems, maybe they have some sort of program allowing them to search through comments, look for certain keywords. Maybe the operation that they work for does that. Now, I'm not suggesting that it can only be a government run or government funded operation. Uh, Public relations firms have been a big part of the business world for about a century now. And my friend Josie, really, I didn't know much about him. This guy Bernay was, one of the real sort of founders of this whole sort of branch of psychology where, the study is how to manipulate large groups of people. So what I'm getting at is that this sort of thing, this sort of PR tool, these sorts of PR tools have been available in various different ways to private companies for a century. And there was a book I didn't read until Josie clued me in on Bernay. Um, One of his major books was called Propaganda, and it was all about companies using propaganda to manipulate people so that they would use their services or buy their product. I haven't read a whole lot of the book, but I've read parts of it. It's very interesting. So we got but the thing is, what's kind of weird and creepy is that's really the amount of Twitter trolls. Twitter, you could call them trolls. I don't like calling them bots because I think a lot of these are people. I would just call them maybe contractors. That's what I call them when I call them out. That implies government, but I realize they could be working for private relations firms. They could be working for weapons companies, couldn't they? The weapons companies got a lot of money. Couldn't they actually just hire some people? There's probably businesses. As a matter of fact, so let me complete a sentence here. So there's probably some businesses in India, I would think, which are like call centers, but they're probably like troll centers. And I saw a video, I saw some information about an operation like that, but it was, I guess, a fictional sort of sci-fi. It was on the channel Dust, I believe, which is a great short film, sci-fi short film channel on YouTube, and it's free. It's pretty good. And so I remember seeing maybe a little piece they did on there talking about that, but it seemed like it was based on real stuff. So I'm a young Gen Xer, an old millennial. I'm not hip to like all of the newest computer shit, but it's very interesting. I've ran into at least one for sure. So again, it was a person. I was guessing Europe just because they were following the Czech embassy of Ukraine, the Czech Republic embassy of Ukraine. I looked at his followers. I was like, who is this guy using multiple accounts? And one of the accounts he was using had Czech Czech embassy of Ukraine. One thing a lot of civilians probably don't realize is that the State Departments and the State Departments of almost every country, foreign relations departments, are basically joined at the hip with the intel agencies. It seems like that in every country. This is not coming from any information I'm privy to, because I don't really have any of that. But it just seems that's the case with the United States. It seems that's the case with Britain. It seems that's the case with a lot of countries. So he was following the Czech Republic embassy of Ukraine. It was interesting. But anyway, that's one thought. I just find this very interesting, something to keep an eye on. A little bit creepy, but these are creepy times, and there's spooky shit going on. So I just wanted to prove to anybody who ever watches this that I'm not a Republican. So with this Jackson confirmation, first of all, it's just sickening to me to watch the Republicans put on this phony show. Uh, it's just so phony. It comes across as so fake. And they're honing in on whatever they can, and that's what lawyers and politicians do. So they're going after the child porn thing or something to do with her giving lenient sentences to people with child porn that were charged with child pornography. Okay, no sane person, or even most insane people and people with mental illness. This is a disgusting thing that people do. Now, I would imagine it is possible to accidentally download it, and I've never done anything like that as far as I remember. But it seems like it's something that anybody can easily accidentally download. They click on the wrong link. It goes to back in the day. Now it's mostly off of the main internet. You kind of have to go to the Tor system, do all the Tor stuff, and I don't know how to use any of that stuff. So on the main internet, it's been pretty sanitized. I mean, of course, it's a legal criminal liability for a site to have that. Obviously, they're going to do everything they can to take it off their sites. Although, it is true. I've noticed that some sites seem to get away with it to a greater extent than others, and it seems to be like the bigger sites have some of the most egregious stuff on there, as far as what I hear from activists like Eliza Blue on Twitter. Something, and I know on Twitter's loaded with porn. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, to anybody who's ever been on Twitter. Um, Instagram, I guess, is more like just pictures of. I haven't seen any naked stuff on there. But back to this situation here. So she was lenient to people on child porn. See, first of all, I don't know the details of those cases, and anybody who's watching these, any boomer or whoever who's watching these hearings, um, on cable TV, the vast majority of them don't have any knowledge of those cases either. And I would imagine some people have been hemmed up on some child porn charges, maybe by accidentally downloading it, especially if you go back, back far enough when there was more of it online. I know this has probably happened. It happens in every justice system. You have stuff like this happening. So I don't know the details of the cases. Now, perhaps she is being lenient on child porn. If it's a big issue, if it's something like she's doing purposefully and nefariously, that's a different situation. But really, I don't care, because she's going to be confirmed anyway. There's no way to stop it. Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, they are not going to swing on that vote. I don't see it happening. But just the main thing with me is how fake the Republicans like Ted Cruz comes across. Just how fake dramatic they are. It just makes me sick. Just both of these fucking parties make me sick. And just the U.S. government, generally is making me sick. It's just become such an absolute clown show. But that's my thoughts on that. Next topic. We're going to do one more, I think. So, this I found very interesting. Now, let me see. Let me see if the president of El Salvador. Let me see if the president of El Salvador said anything like this. I should have had this pulled up. I'd like to see what he said about that. Let me see. It would be in the top story. I'd have to see what he says about this. Bukhari. Okay, so anyway, let me just, I'll look that up maybe while I'm talking or something. I should have already looked that up. Okay, so Russia, so Vladimir Putin made, or who was it? Zaval, so this is Zero Hedge, one of the best, one of my favorite sites. Pavel Savalny, Savalny, Congressional Energy Committee. So he's a minister of parliament, I guess. A legislator, and he's just a minister of parliament or No, he's the chairman of the. I don't know how it works in Russia, whether that's a legislative committee or not, or maybe it's because I thought all of the executive branch stuff was ministry. So anyway, Zavalny explained that Russia is open to accepting different currencies for its exports, beginning with natural gas, depending on the buyer's preferred method of payment. However, the chairman said the terms will depend on the importing country's foreign status with Russia. Friendly currencies, they may use their currencies if they'd like, or rubles. And they also said if they want Bitcoin, we will trade in Bitcoin. So this is blockbuster shit here. Now, I remember reading or listening to Felix Rex's stream with the guy who's a contractor. He's pretty knowledgeable. He kind of started a lot of this fascination with Mearsheimer, I think, because he's the first person I heard mention Mearsheimer. George something is his name. But he mentioned that his theory was that one of Russia's goals with this whole situation we have here, or maybe more like a long-term goal. That's how I would look at it. I don't know if he said it that way. A long-term goal, and it makes sense, is to break the back of the petrodollar, because that's where the United States, honestly, and European, like UK, that's where they actually derive a lot of their power and their influence in the world. The governments, that is. So he mentioned that he postulated that a long-term goal of Russia, and I'm sure China. I'm adding my own 2 cents there. Probably China. I don't remember if he said that. So I'll just address it as if I'm saying it. So this is my opinion: is that they have wanted to get out from under the yoke of Russia and China have wanted to get out from under the yoke of the petrodollar for some time. They started offloading treasuries almost 10 years ago. Maybe before, but I think it comes sometime around the Crimean episode. You know, when I kept hearing that Russia was buying a lot of gold and for the reserves, the Russian central bank was acquiring lots of gold. And here they also say, by the way, before I forget, in case uh, no one saw it, they want Western countries to pay in gold. They want to take gold away from Western countries. They want to confiscate their gold for the oil. That's going to be an interesting conundrum. That's in effect a sanction, and a well thought out one, I must add. That is a sanction forcing Western countries to pay in currencies, no, to pay in gold. Western countries, they should pay in hard money. Hard money is gold, he said. They keep the quotes here. That's just amazing. That's essentially a sanction. Okay, that's essentially sanctioning Western currencies, saying if you want our natural gas and then oil, you're going to have to pay. We would like you to pay in gold. I think what they would do is they would provide a discount for payments in gold. But they can acquire a shit ton of gold that way. And there's almost no way to stop it because the European countries will have to acquire gold and then send it to Russia. Probably acquiring it from the United States sometimes. That is just so interesting. That is a sanction and a painful one. And then the Bitcoin thing. Just another way to break the back of the petrodollar. Start making Bitcoin paid. Start making oil payable with Bitcoin, purchasable with Bitcoin. I think you're going to see these bots, for example, that I've been encountering on Twitter. And let me see what Bukele. I know I got him on my L. What's his name? Bouquet. Hmm. Naib Bukele. Let's see what he said about this. I don't see anything about the developments today, but he's going to have something to say about that. It's going to happen. Okay. You're going to see a lot more propaganda coming if this is actually ever implemented. I don't think they're going to go create the elites, the people who like the US dollar the most, which are the elite banks and all the elite, the government, of course, because it's their currency that they can control. So anybody in the government will be very adamant about the dollar staying the world's reserve currency. You're going to see news organizations that are partnered with government, which is most of the mainstream ones, start really upping up their propaganda against crypto. I think you're going to see the government's pushback on crypto just really take off if this actually ever happens. Now, they're just suggesting it now. I could see this guy Bukele, if he hasn't heard about it yet, maybe he's talking about it right now. Maybe he's going to put together a proposal to buy oil in Bitcoin. If I were him, I would do that. He seems pretty based, like he would do something like that. I'm sure some people in certain agencies want to get rid of him really bad. So this is a big development in just the speed to which the petrodollar has been attacked. I'm not going to say it's down for the count yet because I don't know. But just the ferocity at which the attacks against the petrodollar have come. First, you have the issues with Saudi Arabia, and then you have uh, a couple developments. What was the other one? India buying in ruples. You have UAE talking to Assad, inviting Assad over to UAE or vice versa. Maybe UAE went to Damascus. This is all the beginnings maybe of a concerted effort to take down the petrodollar. And the United States made it easy for them. I mean, I'm not a fan of the petrodollar. I hate the petrodollar and what it's done to this country and the world. But I would have liked a more measured and controlled exit from the arrangement, not a sudden diplomatic row which brought out a worldwide response against the petrodollar. See, this is the thing, is that you hear so many, well, the trolls on Twitter. I don't these are not real people. I mean, they're probably real people, but they're not being serious about what they believe. But these there's the general response from the clueless is that the entire world is sanctioning Russia right now. That is, I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just not the case. The entire world is not sanctioning Russia, unless you mean the entire world is the United States and Western European countries and Japan and probably Australia. That is, what percentage of the world's population is that? What percentage of the world's raw materials and manufacturing power is that? It's not the entire world. As a matter of fact, it seems that most of the world is going the other way. And I'm hearing more and more of the talking heads that I listen to saying that it's just a crisis in American leadership. One guy in particular, Barnes. And I've been saying that for a little while, ever since really I was convinced since Afghanistan that America is suffering from a real crisis or a dearth in leadership. I don't know if that's the right word, dearth. Let's look that up real quick before. Dearth is like a lack of something. Yeah, let's look it up. Yeah, scarcity or lack. So we have a dearth of leadership. And I've said it before, when in the game of politics between nations, there's only a few actual rules, because there's no international executive that can enforce international laws yet. Truthfully, the United States was the closest to by the way, the closest to being being that. And I think that heyday is pretty much over. It seems to me like the entire world, first of all, wants to end the petrodollar, and I can see this. I can see this issue, this whole thing, developing very, very rapidly. It already is, and this, as the guy on Felix Rex, I mean, I think his name was George, was saying, this is a strategy, a goal of not just Russia, in my opinion, but many other countries besides. They're tired of being under the hegemony of the US dollar and the euro dollar system. They're tired of it. So, very interesting development. And, you know, like I said, to close, I don't like the petrodollar. I hate the petrodollar. But this wouldn't be the way to a good way for the United States to end the petrodollar system. And then what is the government going to do? What I'm more interested in is not even what's going to happen with the petrodollar. It seems like its days are numbered. Now, Lynn Alden was talking about how for years now that the petrodollar is declining, and she was right. What a brilliant woman she is. So she's been talking about it for some time. I immediately like that idea just because I love my history. I know my history, and I could see that the United States was suffering from a high degree of corruption and a broken political system, poor leadership, and that was generally could be ascribed to a decline in the empire. So it's just that, and it's bad for the United States. The petrodollar, Lynn Alden explains it better than I do. I'm not really, I don't understand it like she understands it, but the petrodollar has incentivized, from what I remember of what she said, it seemed like a very good and very solid thesis that the petrodollar has actually incentivized manufacturing to leave the United States because you want a strong dollar relative to other currencies. And that has a huge impact on manufacturing. So the petrodollar is not a good thing, and we do need to get rid of it for the sake of the United States. However, this wouldn't be the way I would want it to happen. Any American should also feel that way. But that's what happens when you have an absolute crisis, an absolute dearth. I still got it pulled up here. Dearth of leadership. So expect, if this situation develops further and Russia does actually accept Bitcoin from a major purchaser of commodities, could be a private company. I don't think this particular the Bitcoin being used would be something that would happen quickly. That would take time. Gold is also interesting. That's just them wanting to confiscate gold. How interesting would that be? Would governments start confiscating gold in order to buy oil and natural gas? They've confiscated gold before. Most countries have, even the United States. So there we go. I'm pretty much done. Got to go to sleep now. Have a good night.